this is Jennifer Herndon. Welcome back to my video channel. Today we are going to talk about Pinterest, and I'm going to give you 3 quick ways that you can make sure that your SEO value on Pinterest is high. For those of you who are brand new, I'll tell you that SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization, and this is basically how people find you on Google. All you really need to know is that obviously, even if you have really good content, you have really good things on Pinterest, and anywhere else, if nobody knows you're there, then they're not going to get to your really good stuff that you have. So I'm going to tell you 3 ways just to make it easier to make sure that when somebody does a Google search under one of your topics, that you are found by that person in the search engine results. The first thing I want to tell you about is naming your boards. The name of your board is actually used as an H3 tag. Doesn't really matter what that means. All that matters is for you to know that H3 tags are valued by the search engines, that the search engine is going to see that when someone searches for the term. So when you add a new board to your Pinterest account, you don't want to name that board something random. You want to use your keywords and name that board based on what your keywords are that people in your market, in your audience, might be searching for. So I want to show you just how to do that. Here we are in my Pinterest account. We'll go up here where it says Add, and we'll click on Add. And you can see that it says Create a Board. So you'll want to click on Create a Board. And let's say what you want to do is add your blog post to your Pinterest boards so that people will find your blog, be directed back to your blog when they're searching on Pinterest, and you can show them all the great things that you have to offer there. Well, instead of naming your board My Blog, nobody's going to be searching for that. So you want to name your board what one of your keywords is that someone in your market might be searching for. For example, I do a lot about online branding, so maybe I'll name this board, Online Branding Tips. And that way, and then we just click on Create Board, and that way when I write articles that have to do with online branding, I forgot to select a category. When I write articles that have to do with online branding, I can pin them then to this online branding board, and when people search for online branding, that'll increase the chances of my board appearing up in the search engine results and of them then being directed back to my blog based on the articles that I pin there. So you can see now I have a board, Online Branding Tips. Now I don't have anything pinned there yet since we just created it, but it is there, and hopefully once I start pinning there, people who are searching for online branding will see that. They're certainly going to see it have a much better chance of seeing it than if I had named it My Blog, which they would have virtually no chance of seeing it. So that's the first thing I want you to do, is make sure that you're thinking keywords when you are naming boards that you want to pin things to that relate to your business. Now the second tip I want to give you is even easier than that, and it's going to require us to go over into our settings. So if you click on your name and come down to settings, we're going to look and make sure that you've got your website and your Facebook and your Twitter account connected to Pinterest. Now, the reason that this is important is because Pinterest actually gives you a do follow link back to each of these URLs that you put in. It gives you a backlink back to your account, which is a good thing. And Pinterest, as we see today, has an Alexa ranking of 66. Which means it's the 66th most popular site on the web. So a backlink from a website with that kind of Alexa ranking is going to be especially good. So make sure you have in here where it says website. Make sure you've got your website URL filled out, the complete URL with the HTTP, so it'll link back. And then make sure you also have these buttons turned to on. You can turn them to turn them to off, or you can turn them to on. And you want to make sure that the Facebook button and the, I'm sorry, now it's going to ask me to connect again. I shouldn't have done that. You want to make sure that the Facebook button and the Twitter button are both turned on, and you'll go through this process if you don't have them turned on when it's asking you to let Pinterest access your information. And we're going to go through the same thing with Twitter, where it's going to verify that I want to let Pinterest add my information, access my information on Twitter. So once it's done those things, that one again was for Facebook. Once it's done those things, then I'm linked to Facebook and Twitter through Pinterest. Adding Pinterest to your Facebook timeline, that's completely up to you. You can do it or you can not do it. That's just your preference, whether you want it to show up in your timeline on Facebook. Now, the advantage, another thing that is good about having both Facebook and Twitter and having your website URL linked to your Pinterest account is it makes it easy for people to find you. Let's go back and look at my boards, and this is what people will see when they look at your Pinterest account. They see, your name. They don't see it at profile, but they see your name and all your boards. And right underneath your photograph there's a link to your website, there's a link to your Twitter account, and a link to your Facebook account. So, and this also gives your RSS feed for your Pinterest account. But it makes it very easy for people then to connect with you. All they have to do is push one button and they will be at your website or at your Twitter account or at your Facebook account. So that's what people like, is easy, and that's why you want to make sure you give them easy. You don't want to have them click on here and have it not go anywhere, and they're like, well, I wanted to find you on Facebook and I wanted to follow you on Twitter and I wanted to read your blog, but I couldn't because you didn't have it set up. So that's my second tip, to get you a backlink and to make it easier for people to connect with you when they are on Pinterest. Now, for our third tip, we're going to go back to settings. So come back here to underneath your name and click on settings. And this one is super simple. You just have to make sure here that your visibility is set to off. Now, this is a little counterintuitive. Obviously, Pinterest was not set up for online marketers, because when you think visibility, you think on. I want to be visible. But if you read what it says, hide your Pinterest profile from search engines. And if you click on, then it hides your Pinterest profile from search engines, which is obviously not what you want. So we got to click that to off to make sure that the search engines can in fact see your Pinterest profile. So when people are searching, they will find you and they will find your content. So that's the 3 tips that I have for you today to make sure that you are getting maximum SEO value out of your Pinterest account. I did a blog post on this exact subject a couple of days ago. I'm just making this video for people who find it easier to follow along, but I'll also put the link to the blog post in the notes below so you can refer back to that if you'd like to. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.